the most incredible marketer which I ever seen. His name is Ashton Shank. Began his own agency, scaled it to over $100 million.
Started when I was about 16 years old. We were doing about 3.2 million a month in revenue. For me, that was just unreal. I didn't really believe it.
Hello to everyone. Welcome to a new episode in our podcast. My name is Anatoliy, and today I have one of the great buddy of mine, and he is, in my opinion, the most incredible marketer which I ever seen. I have listened a lot of his speeches on the different stages such as AdWords, Affiliate AdWords, Agency Founders, Geek Out, and that was unbelievable, powerful, and the insights which he's having all the time in his mind, just insanely sweet and good. It's like a golden mines every single time. His name is Ashton Shank, and before Ashton, I will start speaking with you. I want to give additional insights to the guys. This person from the ground zero, few years ago in 2020, began his own agency and scaled it to over $100 million for his clients' results in yearly turnover. And he started as an intern in the traffic and funnel several years ago, and he was just growing up step by step and opened the company in 2020. And in the matter of couple of years, he just made incredible results for over 5,000 customers out there who his company has been served in just this period of time. He already have 3 different companies which he's going to be speaking about. He's the CEO of those companies, and plus he has over 100 people staff which he's managing, and I'm just wondering to hear how is that going for him and what kind of insights he would be able to share with you. Ashton, what's up, my man?
Hey, buddy. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm actually appreciate for seeing you here, and I would love to speak today about everything, but especially about your strongest part, which is marketing, and how do you manage in such a great, really like not just the companies, unbelievable high level companies with high A-player employers. Would you open for that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anything you need.
Let's get started. Just share with us how you got started, how you dive into the e-commerce, into the marketing in general, and what's your background. So before we're gonna be diving in something juicy parts, tell us a bit more about you.
Yeah, so, I fell into marketing, as I kind of like to say. It started when I was about 16 years old. There is a company that a buddy of mine who was working with, he was working with this older lady who was selling cell phone parts out of her garage. And at the time, I was actually 16 and I was sweeping a warehouse that did construction. And so I was just kind of, the young staff member that would come over after school, and I would sweep up their warehouse and try to make sure it's clean as they were putting together, shelves and books, items, and things like that. And so, one day a buddy of mine asked me if I wanted to come help them out. And so I was like, sure, let me go do it. And it was literally at this older lady's garage. And so I started, we were just packaging up orders, and that company actually started to grow pretty fast. And about 6 months later, we started to move into a storefront. At the time, this lady, she was doing about $250,000 a year in revenue, just selling stuff on eBay. And we started to grow really fast, and eventually they got to a point where they're like, hey, we should start a marketing department. Ashton, you've been here the longest. Do you want to be our marketing director? And at the time, I didn't really know what marketing was, but director sounded really cool in my title. And so I said yes. And I remember going that day after work to Barnes & Noble. It was a bookstore, and I bought Jab, Jab, Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk, and then Marketing for Dummies. And those were the 2 first books I ever got into advertising. And essentially, that company started to grow really fast. We started pushing a lot of orders through eBay. And eventually, about 3.5 years later, we were doing about 3.2 million a month in revenue. And that was a company that I really kind of cut my teeth on all levels of marketing. It was pretty much any idea I had, we were allowed to test. And so that was really my step into it. And then another company had heard about the results that we had had at this company, and they asked me if I wanted to be their marketing director. So I went on from there. But essentially from there, I worked at agencies. I started hearing about this concept of online marketing and being your own boss and entrepreneur around 2016. And this was the time that, really, to me, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't really know that being your own boss and making the amount of money these people were claiming were possible until one day, a buddy of mine that I went to high school with, his name was Ryan Steenberg, and he started making money doing this. And in about 90 days of doing this online advertising thing, he was making $20K a month. And for me, that was just unreal. I didn't really believe it, but I knew that this guy from high school, and I was like, man, if he can do it, surely I could figure it out. I already had background in marketing and experience. So I was like, all right, let me get a shot at this. And it was at this time I was working at an agency in Seattle. I was managing some pretty large advertising campaigns for some tech companies. And I saw this ad come across my feed from Traffic and Funnels. And I had actually recognized one of the guys from Traffic and Funnels. His name was Taylor Welch, because he used to be a worship leader at the church I went to growing up. And that's kind of ultimately what opened the doors of what is this consulting and online space, and really my attraction to, hey, I want to see if I can build something here. Long story short, I actually got an internship at Traffic and Funnels and started as the person who did the stuff that no one else really wanted to do, managing comments in social media, scheduling posts. And then eventually that ultimately worked into me starting to write some emails, and then me ultimately stepping in as a media buyer. And then I kind of just grew from there to eventually where I was running the advertising department, and we were doing 7 figures a month in revenue. And so I got a lot of experience until, like you mentioned, in 2020, I had some personal family matters that needed to get taken care of, which required me to essentially move back home. At the time I was living in Nashville, I needed to move back home to Missouri. And that's ultimately what had me start Hemon Media, which is what we have today. And since that time, we've grown quite a bit. Now we have about 50 full-time staff, and we manage around the $4 to $5 million a month mark in advertising spend for our clients. And now here talking to you.
You remind me something. I mean, first of all, I have heard that story before, and it's incredible, especially in what age you have started all that experience. It always showed me, first of all, that it's matter of the experience and the work which you are implementing. I mean, to become who you are. And as I said, I never have seen such a dive deep marketers as you. I know how many books you're reading about it, and how much work you've done with your team to implement all the skills, to implement all those techniques and generate new skills regarding that. And when I met you first time, it was quite like over a year. No, actually we knew before that, but I mean, we met in person on one of the masterminds. And when on the Powerhouse event, Loss said, listen, sit down or stand out who spend 100K a month. Me, other guys, you, everyone standing. $500,000 a month. Like me, other guys, you standing. Like million a month, couple of guys standing. Who done over 5? Everyone sit down and Ashton is staying. It was impressed for everyone. You are for sure a goat of the advertising. And that's why I just have one wonderful question to you. Like, how did you feel yourself when you create your first, I mean, it was on the Traffic and Funnels, but especially because of you, your first 7 figures a month? What was the feelings, and was easy for you to make it, or it was something which you just went through the several fails?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like, when I had kind of done the first month where I had generated 7 figures for a company, I think it's a difficult side, but it's also when I think that's allowed me to be where I am today, because the first company that I really produced 7 figures in a month as far as revenue was back at that first company that I was working at when I was 16. And so for me, producing the 7 figures was cool as far as a milestone. But at that time, I was getting paid under $30,000 a year. I was just a young kid, basically, in marketing that didn't know that I should probably be compensated more than I was.
You done charity.
So, yeah, it's like I had no idea. I was just a kid, And so I think it's kind of one of those things where I've always been I found myself to be in environments where large milestones for most people was just kind of another day for me. And it set the bar and the ceiling so high that when I had achieved those things, it wasn't some mountaintop experience for me. It just felt like that was what was to be expected. And so I think one of my biggest advantages, even to this day, has been I just think bigger, because I don't know any different. I don't know to think that, doing your first 6-figure month or 7-figure month is some of this big grandiose event that you achieve, because I've been around it for so long, which is partly, I think, just lucky circumstance. I found myself in those opportunities. But then the other side has been my incessant need to be around places and people like that think that way, because now when I'm around people who don't think like that, it feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm. I completely understand you, and it was one of my questions next, which is you already mentioned one of the points, like what helped you out to make yes, you said you were a kid who get paid less than you should, you generate to 7 figures a month, but except testing and budget which has been provided, what was in your opinion, and still in your opinion in our days, could be the most important skills generated for people who are out there trying to start and make their first 6 or already 7 figures a month? What do you suggest? What was your feelings and what you were following to get those numbers? And do not be scared about it, because it's quite high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think it's probably two sides to it. There's the interpersonal mindset side, which I would say is first, having an extremely high standard of excellence and pride in what you do. It's absolutely, in my opinion, one of the biggest things that sticks out with entrepreneurs or leaders that I really look up to and admire and study is that they have a consistent need to be excellent in every area that they do. They're the people who don't want their names on stuff that they know is not excellent and not great. And so I'd say that's the first side of it, is having that inner drive of, no matter what you do, regardless of how much money you can make, you want to be able to look back and go, I'm very proud of this work or this effort that I did. I'd say the other side, though, is if we look for more skill-based, I think the first thing is probably really learning how to communicate, both verbally and written. The ability to communicate ideas, the ability to communicate challenges and obstacles that you have is absolutely very, very important, not only for if you're trying to build a company and have a team, they need to be able to understand and learn from you correctly, but also from a marketing sense, the ability to communicate the value of a product that you have, to communicate the potential or the opportunity in front of customers or potential customers is absolutely how you win the game. Some would call it sales, some would call it marketing, but I just call it communication. The ability to communicate what is in your head to the people listening or reading is the skill you want to master in order to move up in almost any role that you have.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. And I remember that point when we discussed and you were sharing as well insights of the perfect avatar of the customer to understand your customer before spending any dollar on the ads. And that's as well something what I was understanding, I was diving in, but to implement on the right way and go deeper, like you said, to communicate with the potential audience, that's really makes huge difference, especially when you find in the words of the people which are they using about the particular subject or product. That's a game changer. I mean, if you would like maybe go a bit deeper about that, tell us a bit more how in your understanding advertisers out there could improve their communication with their potential buyers. What tactics or hacks they can use in your opinion? What can you suggest from your end?
Yeah, so I mean, there's probably quite a few that I could share, but I would say outside of, let's assume that you already have a deep understanding of your market. Now, most advertisers and marketers actually don't. Most of them will stop at what is a pain that they have and what is a desire they have, but they don't really go deep enough to understand the nuances behind those pains or desires. Meaning, someone could have a problem of not making enough money in their business, but that is not maybe the real problem that they're facing or experiencing internally that's going to drive them to action. Example, if you can't generate enough revenue for your business, then the chances are you might not be able to take care of your team. You might not be able to take care of your family. You might not be able to take care of your kids. Now, there's a deeper pain behind not being able to take care of your family or your team or your kids. Well, what is that pain? Well, that pain might feel like a disappointment. That pain might feel that you've abandoned them. that you have given and said, I will take care of you, but now you're no longer keeping up with that promise. And that will ultimately pull out a much deeper feeling of emotion than just saying, hey, here's how you make more money for your business. So that's kind of the first thing, is understanding what is the deeper emotions behind your market. The other thing, though, I think is really dialing into the benefit of the benefits, not just saying what is the outcome that you're giving to them, but what is the benefit of having that outcome? Because just like knowing the deeper pain behind the problem that they're facing today, there's also a deeper pleasure and a deeper desire that is beyond just making more money for your company. And so understanding that there's a benefit to every benefit that you give someone. I think a lot of marketers today are getting caught up on features. What are the features of my product? What is the cool things that it can do? But they forget about the customer does not care about features. The customer cares about the benefits that they receive from features. And the more you can focus on those, that's really where customers are going to start to see your solution for them, not just, hey, this is a product on a shelf. Do I want to buy it or not?
Yeah, and about the product, it's like I can see, especially let's speak about the drop shippers, not the big brands. Everyone like has the list. This is the features which it has. They put a lot of emojis in the ad copies and no value. I remember one of the strongest products on my end was I was just mentioned what kind of problem and what kind of solution this product delivering to people. Now features nothing. I was just directly, it was, I remember 2 sentences, super short, like this is the problem and this is how it's served and nothing else. We were scaling to 350K a month in the matter of 2.5 months, and that was so easy, 5x ROS. It was back in 2019. It was the most easier scale in my opinion, that was exactly on the point of the audience. It was just like surprise for me. Like I was in the dropshipping for a while and I just decided to write simple sentence and it was really incredible. And right now working with avatars, it's helping a lot to speak exactly on this kind of words to audience, and there is no need of useless features and extra points if you're speaking on their words.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this case, what if you're gonna be, for example, advertising service you are doing in the coaching space, you are doing on the different handmade and just e-commerce products and even coaches and courses. Is there a different way of the advertising, on your opinion, for the e-commerce and for booking a call, lead gen for the coaches? If yes, what kind of difference in your opinion, and what different would you do on the client avatar research?
Yeah. So I would say basically there's not too much different, right? Because ultimately at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get the attention of a potential prospect, a customer, and then we want to convey a value that we can give to them that they currently don't have or aren't utilizing to their maximum ability. And then we're providing a solution to solve the pain or the problem that they're currently experiencing. So holistically, there's not much difference, but there is some small nuanced differences. Example, when you're in an info product space, you don't really have the ability to talk about the physical attributes as much when it comes to what you're providing or the solution. And so you're weighing or indexing much more on emotion that the prospect is currently going through and the emotions that they would have because of the solutions that you can provide. Whereas in an e-commerce or product sense, you're typically more focused on maybe the more physical or instant or tangible benefits and solutions that they're getting because of this product in front of them. But there's also, I think in my head, there's also other levers that you can pull when it comes to e-commerce that you can't necessarily pull inside the info space or the course space. Example, in the ecom side, there's a lot of other features or benefits that you can get. Example, when talking about how your customer services, return policies, shipping and handling, all of this kind of stuff that is not direct to the product related, but it's related to the experience of getting that product in your hands, right? Whereas on info side, it is much more about what is the solution that this information or this knowledge will now allow you to do. And it's much more centric on you're the person in control, and this is allowing you to get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. But it doesn't necessarily have to do with how is the product delivered or the portal and how fancy is it. People want the information, and what does the information do for me? And so it's a little bit nuanced difference, but overall not that drastically different.
Tell me please, like you were improving year by year. And especially according to your words, it's an experience already over 10 years in the e-commerce space. Have you seen the huge difference in terms of workflow to compare to nowadays when you were started? And is it become more, it's a tricky question. So it's became more difficult or more easier? And what is the biggest benefits nowadays, for example, in your opinion, to compare to the past?
So as far as output goes, it depends on how we want to look at this frame, right? If we come to marketing output, it's drastically different, right? Just like anyone who has practiced something for many years, the longer you do it, the easier it can come to you. It's like riding the bike. The longer you ride, the better you can ride, the faster you can ride, the longer you can ride. Or if you're working out, the longer you work out, longer your workouts can be before you get fatigued and the stronger you get. It's the same when it comes to marketing. I'd say overall, though, it is different just because of the fact that my days now don't look like they used to. You know, when I first got started, it was all me, right? And I was really focused on how do I get better at this thing? How do I improve my skill in marketing and copy? And I'm just focused on how do I become a better asset for myself, right? But now that we're really growing, I have a lot of staff and we have multiple companies, my days are now more of how do I become a better delegator? How do I get other people to become a better asset? How do I get our business to operate more efficiently? And so it's not so much focused on how do I become a better marketer? Because now my role has changed from the freelance or consultant to now I'm an operator of a business and I've got to learn this whole new machine that I didn't have to know before. And so I'd say the benefits of it is that, of course, obviously there is the side of I'm building a business that can now generate me income that I don't have to be the one producing the marketing anymore. So there's that side to it. The other side to it, though, is of course now it's more and more challenges, which is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur, especially when you're in the beginning to small business phase, which I would consider us still a small business, is that as an entrepreneur, you can't just be good at marketing. You can't just be good at ads. You have to be good at everything. You have to be good at sales. You have to be good at operations. You have to be good at customer service and marketing and all of it at one time. And that's the difficulty that young entrepreneurs will face when they actually start building the actual business. Whereas when you're just a freelancer or a consultant, you just focus on your skill. And your goal is, how do I get better at this one thing? Because the better I get at it, the more people will pay me to do it. And so it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, and in nowadays, if you would choose the social media which you're gonna be working, I mean, obviously your agency, you're working on the different platforms and the clients which you are managing are big enough to have a lot of tests on the different sizes. But still, what you can say nowadays, the more challenging platform and what platform has the biggest impact and a possible success for people out there in the next 3 years, let's say. Time is going so fast that I'm scared to say 5 years because social medias are changing too fast. So in next 3 years, in your opinion, the biggest performance for what kind of platform could be, and what's the biggest challenges what kind of platform is given?
So a couple different areas. I'd still say for the vast majority of our clients and people looking to build, I'd say Facebook is probably still the easiest to get up and running fast. It's something that's changing so much over the past few years, but so far it seems to still be kind of the majority of where people are spending their time and their money. However, I would say TikTok is something that's been creative development and implementation. That's still where people are seeming to still struggle quite a bit. And even us, it's a brand new platform. It's very easy to run. And pretty much anyone who does Facebook right now can figure TikTok out pretty quickly. The biggest thing there is it's all creative. The creative that you create is ultimately what is going to decide your success on that platform. When I see as far as biggest potential though, and if I could have gone back, I would say I would have focused more into YouTube and Google. I think YouTube is still something that I think could become the biggest or best platform for business owners long term, namely because of both one, the amount of data that Google has across the board. They own a lot of their own data. But the other side is how they're monetizing for creators, right? TikTok right now is a great platform for creators, and you're seeing a lot of creators come out of nowhere spinning up hundreds, if not millions of followers. And so they're getting a lot of attention. And we're seeing the similar things on Instagram Reels and the abilities that people have just to go viral on these platforms. And so you're seeing a lot of these creators getting spun up and a lot of influencers getting created because of TikTok. But I believe YouTube, unless something changes inside of TikTok, I believe YouTube is still going to be the most powerful long term because of how they're paying creators. In my opinion, ultimately, creators will go to whoever is paying them the most, right? This is why we're even seeing Twitch streamers go to YouTube because they're getting better compensated on that platform. And I think TikTok people, as they start to build these followings, they're going to get to a point where going, I have 1 million followers here, but I'm getting paid next to nothing. I'm going to go to YouTube where I can actually make some money. And I think as we see this migration over to YouTube, we're going to continue to see ultimately the best platform is where the creators get paid the most, because we're entering into a creator content network. People are constantly consuming content from creators. And so I think creators will just go wherever they get paid the most, which right now that's YouTube.
Actually, you're the first who mentioned that. In the recent time, it was a lot of hype about TikTok and all the other stuff. Because obviously they made a smart way by creating the business manager quite super similar to Facebook. So obviously all the Facebook advertisers easily transit to the TikTok. But YouTube, what I noticed in recent couple of weeks, that they really changing their strategy about exactly creators. They move into direction where they're gonna pay out to creators for the shorts, which is a huge move, because like everyone focusing on the shorts now, and to bring more focus on YouTube for creators, shorts gonna be paid out. You can see how shorts can bring you to 100,000 of views or even to someone millions of views. And if it's gonna be paid, obviously, can you imagine million followers on YouTube or on the TikTok? Hey guys, I have something here. Just continue watching on this platform. It's gonna be easy, like money generating machine, and nobody wants to watch the long video. Everyone will move to the same setup, let's say, just on different platform, which they obviously using to watch the another shorts on the YouTube, and smoothly it could be transition there. And nobody knows how TikTok hype would be passed. If YouTube is stable for a while, TikTok exit could become huge, but in the same time, we can see how unstable creative wise consistency on the paid advertising, it sucks, to be honest. Do you agree with me that even with the huge brands, when you launch in the creative, how long it's surviving? Usually it's dying.
Yeah, usually you want anywhere from 6 to 10 a week if you really want to do it right, which is really intense for most brands and people to be able to keep up with. It's a lot of creative testing.
Yeah, exactly. Still, obviously, in Facebook as well, creatives as well, it's what is matter. Everywhere, creatives and angle what's matter. But in Facebook, you can launch, and in my own experience, the creatives could go live for a year or even 2. It could still be there if you catch the right way of the speaking to audience, or just slightly changes some angle on the copy or on the creative, and it will be still generating for you similar performance. But with TikTok, it's quite different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think about the metaverse in this case? What our favorite guy trying to create at the moment and losing a lot of billions of dollars, and investors hate him and everything. His stock is going down, but he's still consistently moving in that direction. What do you think about that decision and what it could create for the future of advertising?
Yeah, I think ultimately Zuckerberg is making a massive bet, right? He's making a massive bet on the metaverse and that it's going to take and be the next big thing. And realistically, he's hedging the future of Meta and the future of his net worth on it. Like you'd mentioned, I think I saw an article recently. It was like, Zuckerberg lost in 1 year half of his net worth and has lost more money than almost anyone in 1 year's time. Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I think he's making a massive bet that this is the future, and he could be right, he could be wrong. I think the hardest thing really is that he is leveraging this product that he has, Facebook, Meta now, but he's taking this social platform and he's using it to fuel his next venture, which could pay off, but it's a massive bet on it. If it works, I think it could be absolutely revolutionary to the world of advertising. When you now think that you have, go ahead, sorry.
No. It could be just transitioning something like new iPhone, but in matter of the advertising, like something incredible difference.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it is that, advertising, right? You have to have ad space to be able to advertise. You have to have inventory, places to put advertising in order to sell more advertising. But now imagine when an entire world is virtual, when everything can now become a placement. The inventory would go through the roof. When you're now playing tennis with your friends on a virtual tennis court, there can be billboards all along this tennis court. There's so much possibility in future that's really exciting, a little bit daunting, I guess, for current advertisers, of course.
I was about to ask you, what do you feel about that?
It's daunting. It's definitely something that this would impact the world at large as a whole, and for people like us. Now, for the marketers and advertisers like you, like us, who obviously we're not going to sit on the sidelines. We're going to figure out a way to embrace this new world and take advantage of it. But it is something that has never been seen before in the existence of humans, And so it'll be an exciting new world, daunting for sure, but we'll see how it pays out. The problem right now in Meta, in my opinion, is that they have highly overstaffed this venture. I mean, they have thousands and thousands of employees that they have hired for this, and they're spending, I think it was something wild. It was $50 billion a year or something like that for the foreseeable future. It's not even just for the next few years, it's for a long time. And so we'll see how it goes.
That's, in my opinion, something which is, he used the tactic of the SpaceX. I mean, he just took the Elon Musk's, all of us, we never hear no. We always hear, if we have a goal, we're moving forward to that goal. And now it doesn't matter if someone telling to you that it's not possible, or investors will be pushing you. That kind of leaders like Mark Zuckerberg, they are having a goal and they're just moving that. But it's a great understanding. Is it going to be payout or no? But he goes really like SpaceX and like all in. And let's see how that's going to be performing. Because right now, he moved focus from something what's important for advertisers is Google ads, Facebook ads, to something what's gonna be maybe in the future. So because of that part of the company suffering. And in this case, do you agree with that if the main person for changing the focus to something new, to something different, that in your opinion, it would be affected on the current situation of the current company?
Rephrase that for me?
So as I said, Mark Zuckerberg moved a lot to the Metaverse, and from that moment, advertising became really nightmare to us. So in your opinion, when some of the main figures in the company move into the new journey, to the new direction, it always gonna be a drop down on the field which was working before, or it all depends how great the company structure is?
Yeah, I think ultimately, if I was in his position, and of course I'm not, so it doesn't really matter, but I think it would have been wise to establish a new CEO of Meta as it is and allow himself to, hey, I'm going to go focus on the Metaverse project, on the Oculuses. I'm going to go focus on this. And, if I was him, I would have thought moving someone like the Sheryl Sandberg into a position of being CEO would have been a wise move because, right now you're spreading yourself so wide that you still have to take care of the main product. You still have to take care of the thing that built this thing that allows you to go play and try to build this metaverse. And so we'll see how it plays out. And if nothing else, it might even be forced. We'll see. At some point, shareholders will speak up and just be like, this is not going to happen. This is not going to fly. And so we'll see how it plays out. I think it was a mistake. But at the same time, neither of us on this call are near the level of net worth that he has. So we'll kind of see what he does with it.
Yeah, I agree with you because this is how it looks, at least. Moved forward from something what he built for years. Again, I'm just speaking about the product general. You built something which was working tremendously for whole company, for whole world. And when you changing your attention to something different, the product itself start not even dying, but start suffering. And that's exactly perfect example for me, because I know in my end, if I just change my attention to something else, I see slightly difference, which I need to come back and fix or say to people to fix it. So make the responsible person and delegate the right way. And here, when we are speaking about something really huge, something unbelievable huge, in this case, Facebook, it's super dangerous to play this way without any backup people behind who are going to be running for you. I mean, there is, but we can see that there is some sickness behind. Anyway, we are running out of time. I just want to ask you one of the questions which I always ask in my guests, and would love to hear your opinion. Okay? So in matter of your experience, what would you choose? The journey or end goal? What's more important for you?
I guess it really kind of depends on how we define it, right? Because at the end of the day, if I could offer, let's say your end goal was $100 million and I came to you and said, hey, I could give you $100 million right now and you could skip all of the journey to get there, who wouldn't take that? Who wouldn't take that? I mean, I would take it right now, absolutely. But if we're talking about how do you survive to the long term, I think you have to fall in love with the process. I think you have to fall in love with the patience that you have to build, right? The famous Jim Rohn quote is, don't aim to be a millionaire because of the money, but aim to be a millionaire because of what it'll make of you to get there, right? What kind of person you would become to achieve that level of success is ultimately the thing that's going to give you fulfillment and joy, and really the thing that you have to aim your eyes on in order to actually reach that end goal. But if we're just talking about outcomes, yeah, absolutely. I would rather just take $100 million right now and we'll be good to go.
But I love your answer because it has two ways, but in the same time, it's amazing quote which you mentioned, because usually when people, like for example, were playing in lottery and just won the $1 million, in matter of 2 years, they're gonna be broke again or even less. Yeah. So you have to be mentally ready for the end results. But in the end, in the way how you describe that end result as well, not bad. Because my choice is always journey. I mean, I believe that, we become who we are just because of our journey and understanding how important the things and what's valuable for us and what's matter, what's not at the end of the result. Awesome, Ashton. I really appreciate for seeing you here on our podcast. And I would like to ask you, maybe you have something what you would like to offer to our audience who really usually it's e-commerce guys, advertisers, marketers like us, business owners. Maybe you have something what you can offer them if they will reach out to you. And what's the place the best to reach out to you and speak with you personally? Just share, please.
Yeah, I'd say if you're an e-commerce owner or someone who depends on advertising or marketing to really build your business, and you're looking for perhaps a place that can help you leapfrog a lot of the mistakes that you might be facing now, but also give you the training and insights that really is what we're using to manage accounts at a very high level and produce great success, then I would encourage you to check out our program, Hemon X. And you can go to hemonx.com, HEMONX.com. It's a 17-week program where we take media buyers or business owners and we run them through how we run accounts, how we create advertisements, and how we ultimately optimize our marketing to get those results from paid traffic. And so if you're someone who's maybe struggling or not where you want to be, I'd say there's probably no better place to go than Hemon X.
Awesome. And all the details, your website, and if you don't mind, maybe your Instagram, I will share under our video in the description. And in the same time, guys, from my end, I want to add that my team, my advertising team, has been in the Hemon Media, Hemon X program, and that's a high level. It's not a tactics, hacks, tricks. It's a real marketing and mindset of the media buyer, who you have to be if you want to become successful in terms of advertising. It's a huge stuff which guys are doing. Ashton, Isaac, all his team are incredible. And I'm happy to see you today here. And if guys will want to listen or maybe on the future about how you managing 100+ employers or any other subject which will come in the future. So guys and girls, just type in the comments all your questions, and then maybe in a matter of couple of months, we'll record another podcast on another subjects with Ashton, because he has a lot of things to share with you. Nice to see you here, Ashton. Appreciate, and See you on the next one.
Thanks, brother. Good seeing you. Good to see all the growth that you guys have had. My pleasure, buddy.
Awesome.